I don't really know what pushed me to finally talk about this, but sometimes a memory becomes so heavy that staying quiet feels like dragging chains. As I sit here, staring at the small crack on the corner of my kitchen table, the one I keep telling myself I'll fix someday, I feel something I haven't felt in years, the urge to face my own story. Maybe it's the silence of this morning, or maybe it's because the past has a habit of clawing its way back when we least expect it. Either way, if I'm finally telling this, it's because I'm tired of pretending it didn't shape everything I became. My name is Thomas, and this story begins long before I understood what love really meant. It begins before I knew its weight, its cost, and its ability to split a life in half. And if you stay with me until the end, you'll understand why I say that love, the real kind, doesn't just heal. Sometimes it destroys, rebuilds, and leaves you with scars that don't hurt, but remind you of who you were and who you can no longer be. I met Laura on a Thursday morning, and to this day, I swear it was the most unremarkable moment that ever changed my life. I wasn't looking for anything. I wasn't even looking around. I was just living on autopilot, rushing, stressing, counting minutes like they were slipping through my fingers. I was carrying a cup of coffee that was already losing its heat, and I remember thinking how much that coffee felt like me at the time, warm enough to seem alive, but cooling fast without anyone noticing. I was moving too quickly, too distractedly, and I bumped into her. Not the dramatic kind of bump you see in romance movies. Just a clumsy, human collision. My cup didn't fall, but her book did, a small paperback with worn edges, like it had traveled with her for years. I bent down to pick it up, apologizing while expecting her to be annoyed, but when she looked at me, something in me paused. Maybe it was the way her eyes softened instead of sharpening. Or the way she pushed a strand of hair behind her ear almost nervously, as if she wasn't used to being noticed. She said, "It's okay, really," with this half-smile that felt strangely familiar, like something I'd forgotten but recognized again after a long time. I know it sounds dramatic, but it was subtle. Quiet. A warmth that doesn't shout, it whispers. I introduced myself without thinking. "I'm Thomas." She hesitated for a moment. "I'm Laura." And that was it. No sparks. No fireworks. Just a moment that felt strangely aligned, as if time moved a little slower to let me see something I wasn't supposed to miss. I didn't know then how much she would change everything. Over the next few days, I kept seeing her on the same train platform. At first, it felt like coincidence, but eventually I started looking for her. It wasn't intentional, it was instinctive. I'd scan the crowd until I found her, standing with her book tucked close to her chest, or sometimes listening to music with her eyes closed. She always looked like she lived halfway between reality and a dream she didn't want to wake from. One morning, I gathered the courage to ask her about the book she always carried. She looked down at it, brushing her fingers over the cover. "It was my mother's," she said softly. "I guess, keeping it close makes me feel like she's still here somehow." Her voice cracked just a little, and something tightened in my chest. I didn't know what happened to her mother, but I didn't ask. Some wounds don't need questions, just presence. From that day on, our conversations grew naturally. Some days short. Some days deep. Some days we walked together after getting off the train, wandering through small streets neither of us had reasons to explore. I remember thinking that I didn't know much about her, but somehow everything felt familiar. Safe. And yet, beneath that calm, there was something else, a shadow she tried to hide. I saw it in the way she sometimes drifted off mid-sentence, as if a memory pulled her away. I saw it in how she avoided talking about her family, changing the subject with a practiced smoothness. I didn't push. I didn't want to scare her away. People always imagine love beginning with excitement, but for me, it began with caution. With the awareness that one wrong step could make her retreat into whatever world she lived in before I met her. One evening, we sat on a bench near the river. The sky was turning orange, and the water reflected it like a burning mirror. She hugged her knees and rested her chin on them, watching the current. Do you ever feel like your life isn't really yours? She asked quietly, without looking at me. The question surprised me. Sometimes, I admitted. Why? She hesitated. Because I feel like I'm always trying to escape something I never chose. Something in me froze. The way she said it, it reminded me of myself more than I wanted to admit. But before I could say anything, she stood up, brushing off her jeans. Come on, she said, forcing a smile. I want to show you something. She led me to a small path behind the park, a place I later learned she used to visit as a child. There was a tree with names carved into it, dozens of them, but one set of initials was carved deeper than the rest. I traced the letters with my finger. LM and AM. She inhaled sharply. My mom carved that with me. And who's AM? She swallowed. Me. Before I changed my last name. That was the first time she revealed even a hint of her past. I didn't understand it, but something about the way she looked at those initials, like they were a ghost she couldn't touch, made my stomach twist. Why did you change your last name? I asked. She opened her mouth, then closed it. I will tell you someday, she whispered. And I believed her. Days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. And somewhere in between, without any grand declaration or dramatic moment, we transformed from two strangers sharing a train ride into something deeper. Something fragile but real. It wasn't explosive. It was quiet, steady, like a flame that refuses to go out even when the wind insists. The first time she held my hand, I felt it, not excitement, not adrenaline, but an anchoring. Like she was giving me permission to stay, to stop searching, to breathe. But with love came questions. And with questions came signs. Signs I didn't want to see. One night, we were walking home when she suddenly pulled me into an alleyway, pressing her back against the wall, her chest rising and falling rapidly. Laura, what's wrong? I asked, feeling her hand trembling in mine. She shook her head. I thought I saw someone. I thought. She cut herself off, dragging her fingers through her hair. I'm sorry. I'm being ridiculous. But she wasn't ridiculous. She was terrified. And that terrified me. I wanted to ask her who she saw. I wanted to ask her why she was always looking over her shoulder. But instead, I wrapped my arms around her and told her she was safe. I don't know if she believed me. I'm not sure I believed myself either. A few days later, I found something she didn't know I saw. Her bag was half open on my couch, and a folded document slipped out. I didn't open it, I swear I didn't, but I saw the top corner. Enough to read the words. Probation hearing. Witness protection review. I felt the blood drain from my face. I didn't know what she had been running from. But I knew then she wasn't just escaping memories. She was escaping people. That night, she sensed my distance. She always sensed everything. Are you okay? She asked, sitting beside me on the edge of my bed. I nodded too quickly. Yeah. Just tired. She studied me, her eyes narrowing with that gentle intuition of hers. She touched my face lightly with her fingertips. You look scared, she whispered. I didn't answer. She leaned her forehead against mine. I promise, when I'm ready. I'll tell you everything. But she didn't say when she would be ready. And something told me that whatever Laura was hiding, it wasn't just hers. It was mine now too. And that was the night I realized something terrifying. I loved her. And love makes you willing to walk into darkness you don't understand, hoping the person you're holding knows the way out. But Laura didn't know the way out. She had been wandering her whole life. And soon, I would be dragged into the very past she spent years trying to outrun. And the truth, when it finally came, would tear apart everything I thought I knew, about her, about myself, and about the families that shaped us long before we ever met. I think the moment everything truly began to fall apart was the day Laura stopped answering her phone. I remember standing in my living room, listening to the dial tone over and over, feeling that cold pressure forming in the center of my chest. She had never ignored me before, not once. Even on her worst days, she always sent a message, a voice note, a single word, something. But that day, nothing. I tried calling again. And again. I must have dialed her number 30 times before I finally grabbed my jacket and walked out the door, not even bothering to lock it behind me. Some instincts don't wait for logic. I went straight to her apartment. The hallway felt colder than usual, and even before I reached her door, I sensed it, that eerie stillness, the kind that tells you the world is about to change. I knocked. No answer. I knocked again, louder this time, calling her name. A neighbor opened his door slightly, peeking out. "She left early today," he said, squinting at me. Looked upset. My stomach twisted. Upset how? He shrugged. Like she was about to run from something. That sentence felt like a knife. Running. She had done it before, probably all her life. I leaned on her door, pressing my forehead against the wood, listening for any sign inside. But there was nothing. Only silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. When I finally turned away from the door, I noticed something on the floor near the elevator. A small piece of paper, stepped on, crumpled. I picked it up, smoothing the edges, and I froze when I saw her handwriting. It was shaky, rushed. "I'm sorry, Thomas. Please don't look for me. It's safer this way." My hand started trembling so hard I almost dropped the paper. I felt everything inside me collapse at once. Fear. Anger. Confusion. Love. And under all of it, a growing determination I didn't know I was capable of. I wasn't going to let her disappear. Not like this. Not without answers. Not without fighting for her. I took the paper with me and went straight home. The moment I stepped inside, I saw something on my kitchen table I hadn't left there. A plain envelope with my name on it. No stamp. No address. Someone had been in my apartment. My blood turned cold. I opened the envelope with shaky hands. Inside was a single photograph. A picture of Laura, and a man I had never seen before. They were standing in front of a house, her expression tense, the man holding her by the arm in a way that didn't look affectionate. And on the back of the photo, handwritten in dark ink. "She belongs to us. Stay away." My heart pounded so hard I felt dizzy. I sat down, gripping the photograph until the edges bit into my fingers. I didn't know who the man was. I didn't know what "belongs to us" meant. But one thing was certain. She wasn't safe. And now, neither was I. That night, I barely slept. My thoughts kept spiraling, dragging me through every conversation we'd ever had, every moment she'd hesitated, every time she'd looked over her shoulder. The shadow I sensed around her wasn't just trauma. It was real. Someone had been watching her. Someone had been following her. And for the first time, I felt a fear that wasn't for myself. It was for her. The next morning, I decided I wasn't waiting anymore. I went to the only person I knew who might have answers, my Uncle Mark. He worked in law enforcement for years before he retired. I knew he'd recognize what Laura was mixed up in. I showed him the photograph. His expression changed immediately, sharpened, like all his training snapped back into place. "Where did you get this?" he asked. "It was left in my apartment," I said. "Someone broke in. I think Laura's in danger. I need to find her." Mark looked at the picture again, jaw tightening. "This man," he said, tapping the edge of the photo, "I've seen him before. His name is Adrian Miller." The name meant nothing to me. But the way he said it made my skin crawl. He runs an organized network, Mark continued. Not drugs. Not weapons. Something worse. They manipulate people. Coerce them. Trap them. Testify against him once, and he hunts you for life. My breath caught. Laura, I whispered. Mark nodded. If she was protected once, it means she testified against him. Which means she ran from him. Which means... Her fear suddenly made perfect sense. Her silence. Her shadows. Her hidden past. Her new last name. Everything. Where would she go? I asked, voice cracking. Somewhere familiar, he said. Somewhere that feels safe. Or somewhere she left unfinished. My heart dropped. There was only one place she had ever shown me from her past, the tree behind the park. The one with her mother's initials carved beside hers. I didn't even think. I just ran. The air outside felt sharp, like the world itself understood something irreversible was happening. I sprinted through the park, my legs moving faster than my mind. And when I reached the old tree, I saw her. Laura. She was standing with her back to me, her shoulders shaking as she cried quietly, her hand resting on the carved initials. I approached her slowly, carefully, afraid that if I moved too fast she'd vanish again. Laura, I said softly. She turned around. Her face was pale, her eyes red, her hair tangled from the wind and probably from running. When she saw me, a single tear fell, not from fear, but from something deeper. Something hopeless. Thomas, you shouldn't be here. Neither should you. I took a step closer. Talk to me. Please. She shook her head, backing away. It's too late. They found me. Who? Adrian. The way her body tensed told me everything. He killed my mother, she whispered. The world seemed to stop. He said she owed him, she continued, voice trembling. She refused to do something for him. And I saw it. I saw everything. I was the one who testified. I was the one who sent him to prison. She pressed her hands to her face. And the moment he got out, he started looking for me. I changed my name. I disappeared. Or tried to. But he always finds me. Always. I felt a wave of anger rising inside me, anger at him, anger at fate, anger at the world for putting her through this. I grabbed her gently by the shoulders. You don't have to run anymore, I said. She looked up at me, eyes wide, terrified. Yes, I do. Because if I stay, her voice cracked. You die because of me. Her words stabbed deeper than anything I had ever heard. But I didn't let go. I don't care, I whispered. Yes, you do, she cried. And I care too much to let you get hurt. I tried to leave because I love you, Thomas. I love you too much to let this happen. My breath caught. This was the first time she had ever said those words aloud. And they came out in the most heartbreaking way imaginable, not as a confession, but as a goodbye. No, I said, shaking my head. You don't get to leave me like this. Not because of him. But before she could answer, I heard footsteps behind us. Heavy. Deliberate. I felt the hair on the back of my neck rise. Laura froze. He found us, she whispered. I turned around slowly. Adrian Miller stood a few feet away, hands in his coat pockets, expression calm, too calm. His eyes slid from me to Laura, and a twisted smile spread across his face. I've been looking for you, he said. Laura stepped in front of me instinctively, her hand trembling as she reached back to hold mine. Let him go, she said. This is between you and me. Adrian chuckled. Oh, sweetheart, everything is connected. And right now, he's the leverage that ensures you come home. I moved forward, anger overriding fear. She's not going anywhere with you. Adrian tilted his head. You don't know what she is, do you? What her family did? What she promised me? Laura's grip tightened. Stop, she whispered. Don't listen to him. But the damage was done. A seed of doubt cracked open inside me. My voice came out low, shaky. What did you promise him? She squeezed her eyes shut. I was 15. I didn't understand. My mother worked for him. She was forced to. When she refused to continue, he came after her. And me. I felt something inside me collapse. Adrian stepped closer. She owes me, he said. A debt is a debt. No, Laura snapped. I owe you nothing. You took everything from me. He chuckled. Then why run? Why hide? I wasn't hiding, she said. I was surviving. He stopped smiling. Enough, he said. Come with me now, or he pays the price. Laura turned to me, and I will never forget the look in her eyes. Love and terror combined. She touched my cheek. I won't let him hurt you, she whispered. And then, before I could grab her, before I could hold her, before I could say anything, she stepped toward Adrian. No. I shouted. She looked back at me, tears streaming down her face. Thomas, love conquers all. Even this. I need you to believe that. My heart shattered. Adrian grabbed her arm. I'll go, she said, but you promise you won't touch him. Adrian smirked. Done. Everything inside me screamed to stop her. To fight. To run. To do something, anything, that didn't end with her disappearing into the darkness she feared all her life. But she shook her head at me, the smallest motion, begging me without words not to follow. And in that unbearable second, I realized something. She wasn't saving herself. She was saving me. I forced myself to breathe, to stay rooted, even as every instinct tore me apart. Adrian pulled her away. But Laura never looked away from me. Not once. Not until the trees swallowed them both. And that was the last time I saw her alive. At least, the last time in the way I used to know her. Because the ending, the part that breaks me even now, is that love did conquer all. But not the way I wanted. Not the way I prayed. Not the way stories promise. Love conquered through sacrifice. Through loss. Through a final choice that only someone who truly loves can make. And the ending, even now, still moves me in ways I can't fully understand. But I know this. Laura saved me. And because of that, I will spend the rest of my life honoring the love that cost her everything.